What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ty from Ty Drives Behind the Camera, and this is the 2023 Volvo V90 Cross Country in the ultimate trim level. So we have a very appealing looking wagon here. I think this car is probably one of the best looking cars I have filmed in a while. And we're going to take a look at all of the features that this vehicle has to offer. First, take a walk around the outside, see what kind of features we're working with there. We'll pop the hood, see what powers the V90 Cross Country. We'll then take a look at the trunk space, move forward to the rear seats, and finally all of the features in the front seats. And at the end of the video, you're going to want to make sure you stay tuned. I'm going to strap this GoPro to my head, and we're going to go for a first-person POV drive. We'll see what it's like to drive the V90 Cross Country. Such a great-looking car in this sort of diamond white paint color, but taking a look at the headlamps, of course, fully LED as standard, so your high beams, low beams, daytime running lights, and turn signals are all LED powered. We also have headlight washers. That little square right there will pop out and spray the headlamps to clean them. We also have parking sensors that span throughout the front bumper, as well as a nice set of LED fog lamps towards the bottom of the bumper, surrounded in a nice cladding. Very nice amount of cladding too for this vehicle, since it's sort of the cross-country model, which is sort of the off-roady sort of model. Lots of cladding that goes around the wheels and down the side, and you'll see even more towards the back. But we have a nice grille up here, chrome accented with the front camera there. Nice long hood with some pretty neat shapes up towards the top too, and comes down towards the front bumper. Very large optional 21-inch wheels on this V90. Looks great with this car. Kind of slightly smaller with tires, so it's kind of a smaller profile, so we'll get to see what the ride quality is when we get it out on the road. But looks like we have 245/40 size tires. Really appealing looking car. I just love the look of these wagons. Surrounding the window, we have gloss black. We also have some nice silver roof rails up here, the panoramic sunroof, and the shark fin antenna. Our mirrors have blind spot warning and LED turn signals up there. And also we have smart key entry on all four of the door handles. You just tap to lock and then put your hand behind the handle to unlock. Right back here is where we have that classic wagon shape, and man, is this such a good looking wagon. I can't express that enough to you guys. Probably the best looking wagon on the market. Same wheels and tire setup back here. Lots more of the cladding, and also back here going along with the LED front lights, we have all LED rear lights as well. We have a nice roof spoiler up top with a third brake light and our third wiper. As far as badging back here, we have the V90 Volvo and the B6 Powertrain. We also have the trunk release and the reversing camera. This has a 360-degree view camera system, and of course parking sensors that span the rear bumper. So I think you guys already know my thoughts on the look of this V90. Let me know what you think of the appearance in the comments below. Under the hood of the V90, regardless of what trim level you get, you'll have the B6 Powertrain, which in Volvo terms translates to a mild hybrid 2-liter turbocharged and supercharged inline 4, and it's good for 295 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque. So for 2023, if you don't have a plug-in hybrid or an electric Volvo, a completely electric Volvo, you're going to have a mild hybrid, and that is one of these engines. And we'll definitely just test out those power figures when we get out on the road. But under the hood, looks very clean. You know, everything's kind of organized, everything's sort of color-coded. As you can see, the hood latch is off to the right of center, and everything looks pretty good under here. And the mild hybrid setup is sort of used in aiding the stop-start technology. When you come to a stop, you know, the engine shuts off. It's kind of weird. It kind of eliminates the starter on this vehicle, so you really don't hear any cranking over. You know, the engine just kind of whirs to life. So in the trunk of the vehicle, course, we have a full powered liftgate, as you can see. So much room back here, and this is the reason why people buy wagons. You have the same amount of space as an SUV would, a pretty large SUV at that, and you still get the driving dynamics of a somewhat smaller car. But take a look at all the room back here. It's just massive, and it goes on forever. We have tie downs at all four corners of the vehicle. We have illumination to either side, grocery bag hangers, a pretty large cargo hider there, all-weather mats found throughout the vehicle, even in the trunk. And we have a 12-volt power outlet, and when we lift up this nice rubber liner, you can see that we have a spare tire and your tools to change that tire back here too. And you can even see the split for the folding seats and the little cargo pass-through there. Another light up here, as well as two buttons, one to close the trunk and lock it, another one just to close the trunk. Alrighty, so let's take a look at the rear cabin, and just after we'll take a look at the front. So the rear door is nice and big. We have a shade over here to block the light, some very nice light open pore wood trim and metallic accents, lock unlock button, window switch, nice contrast stitching. We have the Napa leather seats with the ultimate trim level like we have here. A little bit of storage and one of 14 Harman Kardon speakers that come standard on the ultimate trim. Back here we have extremely soft leather, since it is the Napa leather, and we have these seat folders right up here next to the headrest that will fold down both headrests back here, and also fold down the seat flat so you can extend your cargo space. Alright, so sitting back here, we do have quite a bit of room, this being a larger vehicle. So as you can see, just about 4 to 5 inches of legroom if you were about my height, which is 5'10". And we have some air vents up here, down below the seat, and also back here on the rear of the center armrest. We have heated seats back here, temperature controls, as you see, and your ability to adjust the fan speed, as you can see. So lots of different adjustments for the climate control for the rear passengers. And we also have 2 USB-C charging inlets. Pretty big hump back here for the drivetrain, but it is pretty large back here, both lengthwise and widthwise. So if you have to get a person in the center here, they will have no problem with having enough room to straddle that and be somewhat comfortable back here too. We have grab handles up top, LED illumination, and a very large panoramic sunroof, as you can see, continues all the way back to the rear headrest. So it's a pretty large piece of glass, I should say a few pieces of glass. And even back there you have some speakers up pretty close to your head, so you have a pretty good sound of that audio system. New armrest for 2023, which is one thing that I noticed about some of the Volvo's different rear armrest design. They used to have a storage console, but now they don't, but they still retain the cup holders and the pass-through. That pretty much does it for back here. Let's check out the front. Alrighty. Okay, so the driver's door is very nicely appointed. We have a nice soft to the touch sort of leatherette material all the way up here where your elbow is going to rest, and also down here where your elbow can rest as well. Nice slab of wood with the metallic work. We have 2-person memory for both the front passengers, so both of them have the memory seats, which is very nice. Harman Kardon speakers, again, power folding mirrors. You just press the L and R buttons at the same time and they'll fold right in. You also have the powered rear child locks too. Pretty big storage tray there, and on the left of the dash we have some more wood accents, the air vent, as well as the trunk release. So you just kind of hold that down and the trunk will pop open. We have a little storage tray in there, all felt lined, and you can also see the telescoping lever for the steering wheel a little bit better down here. Pedals down here covered in rubber, and a nice sill tray that is in stainless steel. Very nice, very adjustable seats for this vehicle. We have the nice Napa leather seats as we saw in the back, and very customizable. So we have 4-way lumbar and also the ability to extend or retract the thigh extensions, along with all of the rest of the controls. All right, so here's the key for the V90 and pretty much every other Volvo model. We have the lock, unlock, trunk release, and panic alarm on the back, and you also have a little switch here to kind of take the key apart and get at the physical key. So all you need to do is start, just put your foot on the brake and twist the little knob here. And again, you don't hear a starter or anything, so you don't really hear the, winding up of the motor. You just hear the motor just start, which is a pretty interesting feature. So, let's start off with what's right in front of us, and that is a very nice soft leather wrap steering wheel. You have some stitching on the inside, adaptive cruise control functionalities on this side, and all of your media controls and sort of operations of the screen in the center. We have voice commands and sort of the up and down for your audio, and then skipping for your different tracks or different songs. Behind the steering wheel, you have a set of stalks, one for all of your lighting, which is a automatic high beam. So we also have front and rear fog lamps and your turn signals. And over here we have the stalk for the front and rear wipers. Now, very nice looking screen for the V90 and all of the new Google-based Volvos. However, it's not all that functional. You really can't display a whole lot of information except if you press the page button right here. That'll kind of pop up the Google Maps, which is a very nice feature, but sort of other competitors just offer a lot more functionalities within their screens here. And so you're basically looking at the two different functions of this screen. You have the button to pull up all your trip information and to pull up the map, and that's basically what you get. We do have a very nice leather dashboard up here with some stitching and a nice heads-up display too. It's displaying currently the current speed and the speed limit on the particular road that we're on. We have another Harman Kardon speaker up here on the top of the dashboard, and that brings me down to the Google-based infotainment system. So much like the screen behind the steering wheel, this one obviously has a bit more to it, but it's a very simple operation. You kind of just know where everything is. It's super easy to get to and nothing crazy. So we have our built-in navigation here with the Google Maps. We have the audio system right here. We have stations and favorites, and then also your sources up here. Going back to home, we have the phone screen, and then sort of your Google Assistant. And it's right from the top to set up different settings and everything for your individual purposes. And then we also have our settings. So we have different things that we could go for. Off-road mode for the cross-country, which is pretty neat. You can turn your steering wheel stiffness to a firmer setting. We also have our sound settings for the Harman Kardon sound. Quite a bit that you can adjust there. You have the connectivity and also your controls. You fold the rear headrest down for extra visibility, and you can also adjust the passenger seat from the driver's controls, which is pretty neat. Just a few different heads-up display controls and lighting, interior lighting, and all of that good stuff found in the settings through the controls screen. And that's pretty much it through the settings. You can go down here to the sort of make another home screen to get your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, obviously. You can also pull up the parking cameras quick, which will pull up the reverse view, and then you can also pull up the 360, and you can tap on each way to sort of get that side of the camera angle. You can also turn on and off your parking sensors and the auto braking throughout that menu too. Over here we have our seat and steering wheel controls, so both front seats are cooled and heated, and you also get the heated steering wheel. Up here we have all of our HVAC controls, so the defrosters, the AC settings, where you want the air to come out, your fan speed, and sort of the temperatures and that pretty much does it for the screen. So it's got all the information. It's just super simple to get to everything, which is nice. Down here you have some physical controls for your hazard lights, defrosters, and sort of more media controls. Down here have some nice stitching and a leather pad. Over here we have a smaller storage bin for pens and pencils and smaller things like that. Then we can slide this back to reveal some cup holders and a little bit of storage. It's a 12-volt power outlet. Very nice shift knob, the Aurafor's crystal shift knob for the 8-speed torque converter transmission. Sort of go all the way down into drive, all the way up into reverse, and at that point the cameras will pop up, and the little P for park. It's a very simple operation there for the gear selector, the switch to turn on and off the motor as you saw before, electronic parking brake, and also an auto hold feature on this vehicle, which is very nice. Nice padded center console, and you can open that up to reveal a pretty good amount of storage and some USB-C inlets, and the opening center console there. So we also have a nice little slab of wood here, again open pour, and in the glove box it's all felt lined, illuminated, and there's quite a bit of storage in there too. Up here we have our auto dimming rearview mirror with our garage door home links. We also have our sun visors here with some lights and extensions. You can move it over there to block the sun. And our sort of center stack is the last thing we'll talk about up here. We have the sunshade, which we can kind of just swipe back, and that little control there. And that will control both the sunshade and the sunroof, so the tilting and sliding of the actual glass. We have our lighting controls, SOS, and things like that. And once the shade is open, lets lots of light into the interior, and it's a very large panoramic sunroof. So that pretty much does it of the features on the V90 Cross Country. Let's get it out on the road and see how it drives. All right, let's take the V90 for a little test drive. All right, so a little outline of the test drive before we get into it here. I'm gonna take a little gander down to this dead end right down the street here, and we'll see how the turning circle is on this car. For those of you who live in the city or travel to the city often, a turning circle test is probably pretty important to you. We'll then get it out on sort of a straight road, so you know, speeds of 45, 50 miles an hour. It is getting close to rush hour, so hopefully we hit those speeds. We'll see what it's like at those speeds, you know, road noise, wind noise, things like that. And for the larger sector of the video, we'll have it out on the back road. So we'll get an acceleration clip going up a hill. We'll kind of see how the transmission reacts to the throttle inputs. And the back roads are full of turns and elevation change, and quite a bit of bumpy sections too. So we'll get to test out this suspension. Air suspension is available. This particular one does not have it, but we'll see how the suspension handles, and it'll be interesting to see how it rides too with these very big 21-inch wheels. So just a little outline of our test drive. Very good turning circle too for this vehicle, so those of you city goers will not have a problem with making tight turns or parallel parking, things like that. So the heads-up display is very clear. That's one thing I've never really thought of in a heads-up display until I've seen this one. It's just so much more clear than other heads-up displays that I've seen. You know, I don't know if it has something to do with maybe the pixels or the graphics of it. I don't know. It's just a very clear heads-up display, very easy to use, just good graphics. Although we have it up to between 45 and 50 miles an hour. little bit of road noise, you know, coming from the tires, since we do have some pretty large wheels, you know, 21 inches, as I said before. And that translates to very small sidewalls. So you're going to get a little bit of noise coming from the tires, and a little bit more of a bumpy ride if you didn't have these 21-inch wheels. You know, you have the 20-inch wheels that comes on this car. You know, you get a little bit more, just a little bit more of a softer ride, and probably a little bit less road noise. So if those two things are important to you, then definitely choose the smaller wheels. But pretty large mirrors and everything like that, you know, and very, very minimal wind noise. You know, the sound insulation on this car is pretty good. Now we're going to take a right onto this back road here. And the way I like to test the acceleration on these cars is we'll get it up to 25 miles an hour. You know, this car really doesn't have a sport mode, so just keep it in automatic and things like that. We'll get it up to 25 miles an hour and just kind of mash the throttle and see what the transmission does. So yeah, the 8-speed transmission reacted pretty quickly, and it got us up to 60 miles an hour pretty fast. Again, 295 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque, in case you're still watching and you forgot those figures from before. So those are pretty healthy figures, but this is also a pretty large car, but no issues with acceleration there. It is not necessarily a fast car, but it's definitely not a slow car. And that power, you know, coming from the 2-liter turbocharged and supercharged inline 4, you know, scoots this car along just fine. So going over the first sort of nasty bump there, first impressions on the ride quality are pretty good. You know, even with the larger wheels, the ride quality is pretty darn comfortable. And again, you know, you can even upgrade the suspension from there to having a 4-corner air suspension system, whereas this car just sort of has the base sort of shocks and steels, shocks and springs, I should say. But yeah, plenty comfortable. Very solid ride. You know, you can almost tell that this car has larger wheels by the way it rides, but still pretty supple ride. And you know, these lifted wagons in this class, you know, either, you know, the V90 cross country or the A6 all-road from Audi, or even the V60 cross country or the A4 all-road from Audi, just always seem to ride so much better than its sort of normal wagon or sedan counterparts that they're related to. Not sure why. Maybe it's the added weight. I'm not too sure. There's got to be some sort of modification to the suspension to make them ride better than their, you know, as I said, normal wagon or sedan counterparts. But they just ride unbelievably well. So we're kind of coming on to the bumpiest section of the road. Again, very small sidewall, so I'm going to avoid some of these bumps to avoid that possibility of blowing out a tire. I've done that on my personal car, and I don't really want to do it again on a car that's not my own. So just kind of get a little glimpse here. Yeah, so definitely a pretty solid ride, but you know, just slightly jarring because of the larger wheels. Definitely nothing to scoff at, though. It's overall a very comfortable setup for the suspension. Now, you might hear a little bit of rattling going on back there. I put the dealer plate in the glass up against the rear glass. So that's what you're hearing back there. It's none of the car's fault. Next, we can talk about the seats, since we've been in the car for a few minutes now. Super comfortable seats, you know. I might have actually missed some of the adjustability in the review part. So this car has massage seats. I wasn't quite sure if it had the massage seats, but take a look at these, the settings here. You can start massage. We have 5 different intensity levels, and also 5 different different functionalities of massage. It's pretty awesome to see in the ultimate trim level. We also have the side support, so we can hug and loosen that. The lumbar control, which is 4 ways, and also the extensions for the thighs, which is kind of my favorite part of the seats, besides the massage, of course. What, you know, if a car's got massage, you know, who cares about the rest of the features? The massage is the main focus. But the thigh extensions for me just make a car a lot more comfier on longer trips. You know, I just seem to have a little bit of an issue with cars that don't have thigh extensions, or the seats aren't long enough. My legs tend to get a little bit tired after longer road trips, so the thigh extensions for me at least are pretty important. You know, another thing for me with the seating positions, you know, it just really pertains to myself, is I like to sit down nice and low in the vehicle, and this seat allows you to do that. And there's some other seats out there, you know, and you know, some other cars that don't really allow you to get that low, but this one does, which allows for a very, very comfortable seating position in this V90 for myself. So that pretty much wraps up the video on the 2023 Volvo V90 Cross Country, which I really have to say I think is my favorite Volvo model. So just to kind of wrap everything up, very nice use of technology, you know, super easy to use. Also, nice driving dynamics too. Very nice ride despite the 21-inch wheels. I thought it was going to ride a little bit rougher, but it doesn't. You also have that availability of even more comfortable air suspension, and just very nice design of this vehicle. I personally think this car is absolutely gorgeous on the outside and as well on the inside. And that pretty much does it for the 2023 Volvo V90 Cross Country. I hope you have enjoyed this vehicle just as much as I have, and I also hope you stay with us here at Ty Drives for more videos just like this one.